So last week I had a new client in who, high handicapper, only been playing golf a year, but really good ball striker with his irons. But once he got his fairway woods in his hand, was just really, really poor. From a good setup, you know, he'd put what he felt was a good swing on the golf ball. And his typical bad shot was a big, fat shot that didn't really go anywhere. And a lot of time he felt 3-wood and 5-wood were actually going shorter than his irons. Now, it was interesting because the reason he came to see me is he'd watched a few of my videos and he lives locally, and he was very, very aware about the importance of low point when the ball's on the floor. And he said, I've watched a few videos and I feel like I have to get my low point ahead of the golf ball. So we got him to hit another shot and said, you know, get that low point ahead, how you've been trying to currently do it. And again, a big fat shot, nice and accurate, but went nowhere. And the first thing he noticed there on TrackMan is that his low point was 1.1 inches ahead of the golf ball, and yet for 93 mile an hour with 3-wood, he was only hitting the ball 136 yards. So he said, I don't understand that. He said, my low point apparently was ahead of the golf ball, but I hit the ground first. And I said, yes, so the good news is you've got very good at what you've been working on. But there's a piece to the jigsaw that you might not understand that you're getting wrong. And it's actually down to how high the bottom of the arc is. So I explained to him that I could make a golf swing that came back way too high, where my low point would be ahead of the golf ball, but I would miss the ball. It could be a little bit lower where I'd top it or thin it. Then I could hit it perfectly. But for him, he was coming in, connecting with the ground, then continuing into the ground. So actually his low point was great, but the height that the club head was coming back was wrong. So initially we said to him, right, I want you to make a few swings, and I want you to see if you can judge the height of the swing. So he didn't really know what he was doing there. So I said, right, set up to the ground, and I want you to make a swing where you come back and miss the floor altogether. So he said, well, that's dead easy, but obviously I'd missed the ball with that one. So I said, on the next one, I want you to do a swing and feel like you're only just going to touch the ground. And straight away there, you could hear that there was contact with the ground, but a lot less of it. So then we went down the route of, right, I want you to hit a couple of shots and see if you can feel that you can control the height of the swing. So got him set up. Straight away, it was just one thing for him to focus on. And first swing, we noticed he came back a little bit too high. Wasn't a fantastic strike, but the low point was well ahead. But all of a sudden, the bad one was 200 yards carrying 220 total. And as disappointing as it was with the strike, all of a sudden then 3-wood starts going a better distance and a more realistic distance for what it should be. I'm not saying he was exactly my club head speed, but he wasn't actually that far behind. So then we said, right, on the next one again, I want you to feel like you're just going to get a little bit of contact with the ground. And then the next one was much better. It was out the middle, there was good speed, great ball speed. Low point was ahead, but only just touching the floor. And we saw a huge jump, kind of 223 and 246. Now, his initial comment, which I agree with, was, okay, that's great, me thinking about maybe touching the ground but a little less. But it feels like that could change a lot, and is there a way I could feel that I do it? Which was a great question, so he said yes. So if we said in his swing normally, he would swing back, and as he starts down, the body moves down. As he's coming into impact, we'd see his lead leg was still very, very bent, so he's still kind of too much down on the shot, making the swing overall too low. So I said, what I'd like you to feel then on the next few practice swings is make your normal start to the downswing, but as you're coming down to about waist height, I want you to feel that left leg starting to straighten and the hip turning out and behind you. So that's going to get the lead side moving more up and actually just raising the bottom of the arc slightly. So we got him to make a few practice swings. And straight away, with that feeling in the swing, we definitely noticed less contact with the ground than we'd seen at the start, but a much more consistent sound on the mat, which then onto grass would obviously translate into a more consistent divot, not too big, not too deep, but certainly that low point maintaining ahead of the golf ball. So, like with everything to begin with, we said, right, maybe to begin with, just do one a little slower than normal, but really focus on that movement and try and get that feel. So we stood up and absolutely flushed the first one. So club speed was down a little bit, therefore ball speed was back a tiny bit. Low point was great, the ball launched fantastic, and we saw huge carry and real good rollout. So his initial comment was, well, all of a sudden, having gone from not really ever hitting a good fairway wood, that's probably a bit longer than I hit driver. I said, well, you could maybe incorporate this a little bit into driver as well. But I said, first and foremost, we need it, probably like a lot of you golfers out there, that once the tee shot's away, if you can't use the 3 wood, the 5 wood, the 7 wood, or the hybrids, and you're having to drop down to kind of 7 iron like he was, you're giving up all that advantage of getting the tee shot away and still making those par 4s a 3-shotter or par 5s a 4-shotter. So the ability to get these clubs going off the floor for mid-high handicappers, these are real scoring clubs, because if you get these going, you're further down the hole with a better chance of scoring. So obviously we got him to do a few feeling like he'd taken a little bit of speed out. And it was amazing how similar the speed was. And then we said, right, as you get more confident with that feeling, do you feel you can swing at normal speed? And straight away, the difference was unbelievable. We started seeing more speed, more ball speed, great contact, low point ahead as ever, but making sure we're getting contact with the ball first. We then started seeing really good carry and huge distance with the 3 wood. Now, if I told you that this guy's playing off 36, like I said, probably about 4 or 5 mile an hour back of my speed, but really it was, driver was okay in play but a bit short, but then because he was so persistent with the fairway woods and hitting bad shots and pulling, just running up a lot of shots to get to the green, and then maybe short game not as tidy as it could be. But we said if he wants to control the height of the swing, he'd worked on low point, he was good with low point, but if the ground's crashing into the way, because the swing's too low, we needed to find a way of controlling how high that club comes back. And it's great to feel that as you shift onto that lead side, then the hip starts to turn out the way. As the lead side's all going that way, that's shallowing the bottom a little bit, getting it a little higher, still down into the ground. And if you can stand there, even when the ball's on a tiny tee, and get that feeling, you too might start hitting the fairway woods like he did. And first game out, his distance pickup was huge, but he also, in 9 holes, had 24 points. So 6 under his handicap for 9 holes, just from fixing the fairway woods like you guys are going to do. But remember, these videos are all out here to help you play better. Comment below, like the video, and let me know what you'd like me to cover in my next video.